Welcome to Wednesdays, live on Wednesdays. Today we are going to talk about the connection between gut health and heart health. Now, it's interesting to note that heart disease is still the number one killer in the United States. And this despite all of the efforts to improve people's health through exercise, through diet. So clearly there must be something else that is lurking in the weeds, so to speak, that is continuing to contribute to heart disease. And there have been recent studies that have shown the possible connection between gut health and our heart health. So you almost everybody probably knows somebody who has had heart disease. I mean, both of my parents had it. So there's 3 different factors that these studies have shown that connect the possibility of your gut with your heart. So the first factor is that colon bacteria can migrate into the small intestine. And I'm sure you all know about SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Actually, 1/4 of Americans have this. So we know that that's a concerning issue. The second thing to consider is that there is specific bacteria that gets exposed when it's exposed to high protein, like your red meats and eggs, things like that, that they can produce harmful byproducts, which can then lead to can then be associated with heart conditions. The third factor is that bacteria can leak through the intestinal lining into the bloodstream, which we know, and I've talked about a lot, is leaky gut. And this can lead to inflammation throughout your body. So, and not only is it just bacteria, but it also can leak out food particles. So all this bacteria and food particles are in places where it's not supposed to be. So it leads to inflammation, it leads to allergies. So they have found, though, that there are in these studies, they have found that there are certain gut microbes that lower the risk of arterial disease, like stiffening, hardening, things like that. Those are the exact same microbes that decrease obesity risk. So there's definitely a connection there. So let's think about this a little bit. There's certain microbes, the ones that we don't want to get into the bloodstream, that when they're in the bloodstream, then they relocate in the arterial walls. And what happens when they relocate like that, what happens is that it, of course, produces inflammation. Inflammation impairs the function of the blood vessel itself. So it has to work harder to pump, which means it's going to start becoming stiffer and become hardening because plaque is starting to build up. Okay? And when our blood vessels start to work harder, that means our blood pressure can be increased. So you see how everything can be connected like that? Now, you may have remembered that I recently talked about short chain fatty acids that are produced in the gut. And these are good things, because one of the benefits of that was decreasing the risk of cardiovascular disease. And that one particular fatty acid, if you remember, was butyrate. And it is almost exclusively made in the gut. And so it is specifically one of the specific benefits of butyrate is that it decreases blood pressure. So it helps with, I shouldn't say decrease, it regulates blood pressure. Okay, so if we need blood pressure raised or down, and it helps to regulate the blood pressure. So what do we do to help counteract some of these things? Sugar. Reduce your sugar intake. As I've mentioned before, sugar increases the bad bacteria in the gut because that bacteria feeds on sugar. So the more sugar we take in, the more bad bacteria will increase, the more is likely to leak into the small intestine or to leak out of your intestinal lining and spread to the rest of your body, causing all this inflammation. The second thing that we can do is to use antibiotics only as needed, because we know antibiotics kill off not only the bad bacteria, but also the good bacteria. The third thing is to decrease your use of NSAIDs. That is like your aspirin, your Advil. These things contribute to the leaky gut condition. A fourth thing is to increase exercise or be regular at exercise. It doesn't have to be a rigorous exercise. When you're stuck in the house, like we all have been, you can just get up and walk around during the commercials. If you're watching TV or if you're watching a movie, pause it, get up, walk around, go up and down steps, do a few jumping jacks, whatever you can do to just get because it gets your circulation going, gets that heart pumping so it doesn't become stagnant and stiff. And the fifth thing is smoking. If you are a smoker, quit smoking. That is a big contributor to cardiovascular disease. So, again, there is definite science studies that have observed a connection between our gut health and our heart health. So, is the way to a man's heart through his stomach? Perhaps it is. Have a great day, everyone.